Welcome everyone back to the TD Sports Press podcast, college football podcast. We're back here on this Tuesday night. We just got the live playoff reaction. We'll be going over what I think about the playoffs and the current rankings. There's a little bit of shake up from this week to last week. We will also be getting into what exactly these games we're going to have. We got some great Week 12 games that we'll be covering. We'll be doing some predictions, and that's what our full show is going to look like. Another 25 minute show. If you're new to the channel here, my name's Trayson Dayton. I am the host of this. And yeah, we're like I said, we're live Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday on YouTube. Looking to have another good week of predictions. I think we missed a couple of games on Saturday, so we're looking to continue that track going on. So without further ado, as we always start out with Tuesdays, we are going to get right into it. So playoff reactions came out today. The Week 12 playoff reactions came out today. And, number 20, let's talk about what I think about it. The biggest thing I still have a problem with is with Miami and Notre Dame. I look at Miami ranked at 15 and Notre Dame at 9. And yes, I agree. I think Notre Dame is a better football team. If those two teams played right now, I think that Notre Dame would win. But when it comes to playoff criteria, the number one thing is head-to-head. If you go to the collegefootballplayoffs.com or whatever it is, the criteria is head-to-head. Notre Dame and Miami have the same exact record, and Miami beat Notre Dame. I wouldn't put Notre Dame at number 9. I would put Texas and Oklahoma above, and BYU, quite frankly. I mean, Notre Dame's resume is very comparable to a Utah than it is a Oregon. They have 2 losses on there, and their best wins in number 17 USC. I mean, for example, you look at BYU. BYU has 1 loss in their best wins in number 13 Utah. I would say that BYU has a better resume than Notre Dame. Notre Dame is still my biggest problem in these rankings. And they can go and beat Pitt this week. We'll talk about that game a little bit later. And I will switch my mindset. But still, if Miami and Notre Dame have the same record at the end of the year, what's going to happen in that situation? That's my question. Are that, say Notre Dame and Miami are both 10-2 at the end of the year. Who are they going to put in front of the other? Because if it's head-to-head, like it says on the website, that's what they're supposed to go by, then technically Miami should be above Notre Dame. That's something I keep my eyes on. Another thing that I didn't really agree with on the rankings, Oklahoma over BYU. I think BYU should be over Oklahoma. I look at this. BYU has 1 loss to number 6 Texas Tech, and their best wins number 13 Utah. Oklahoma has 2 losses on their schedule right now, and their best win is number 22 Tennessee. So BYU has that win against Utah. They have a better win and 1 less loss than Oklahoma, according to the resume. And I grant you, Oklahoma does play in a tougher schedule than BYU. But in terms of resume, that doesn't matter. Based off what the committee thinks that Utah's a better team than Tennessee. Well, if that's the case, then BYU has a better resume than Oklahoma. Their best win is Utah. So, but Oklahoma, they have a chance to prove me wrong. They can go ahead and beat Alabama this weekend on Saturday. So that is something I'm going to be keeping my eyes on with the rankings. Another thing I found interesting in the rankings this week, South Florida came in at 24. I really wonder where James Madison is in all these rankings. That is one thing that I still haven't figured out. In my rankings, I actually have Tulane higher than both those schools. But James Madison's more shocking to me. I'm not sure what James Madison has to do. Their 1 loss is to Louisville. USF, doesn't have, I don't know. I just found USF being at 24 very interesting. So, 25 Cincinnati, another Big 12 team gets in there. The ACC, their highest ranked team is now Miami at 15. Like I said, Pitt is the most interesting team to me in the college football playoffs, as you guys can see right there. Pitt plays Notre Dame, Georgia Tech, and Miami their last 3 games. So it'll be very interesting to see what Pitt does the rest of the year. I mean, they could lose to Notre Dame and win out and still make the playoffs, but that will really help their ranking if they beat Notre Dame. So like I said, we'll be talking about that game and what it symbolizes. But all in all, the other thing that changed in the rankings that I didn't think the committee would do is they moved Texas Tech over Ole Miss. I didn't think that they would do that for the sole reason that Normally they'll mess with the Big 12 going over the SEC. So it's good for Texas Tech to be up there. They have a really they should be up there. You can make a case for them being number 5 in the country behind Alabama. But all in all, like I gave you the things that kind of highlight to me to these rankings, but overall, I agree with these rankings. I think these rankings do a good job. There's 2 or 3 things that I would fix in these rankings, but overall, I think it's a great job. It's not like it has been the last 2 or 3 years where you're just really shaking your head the entire time at the rankings. So I think the committee has done a great job at adapting, and I think they need to be given credit for the way that they've done that because it's really good for the program. So really good to see. So with that being said, we're going to move on to our next segment. But hey, if you guys are new to the channel here, might as well leave a follow. We're 27 subscribers. We're still trying to get to 30 subscribers. I know we didn't reach our goal last week to hit 30 subscribers. So if you guys could help us out, we would really love to hit 50 subscribers by Thanksgiving. And we just got to keep chugging along. So if you guys would be willing to follow us, that would be amazing. Like I said, not only are you getting great YouTube content, we're on TikTok. So if you want to check out our TikTok, TD Sports Press, it's on there. If you want to check our basketball page, because we have a basketball page separate now, TD Hoops on TikTok. Go check that out. So with that being said, let's move on to our game predictions. And the first game we're going to talk about is a game that I don't think a lot of people are going to talk about. We have Clemson playing Louisville. Louisville is a 2.5-point favorite. This game is a Friday night, I do believe. Louisville just is coming off to a loss to California, and Clemson, they played better against Florida State. They looked better, I would say. Both programs, I mean, it's going to be a chess match, in my opinion, when you look at both these schools. Louisville, I think, definitely has the better running attack. I love the way that the running backs get downhill and run with the football. You look at Clemson, I really still believe Clemson has great potential on the defensive line. You just haven't put it together. Very interesting game for Clemson. I think a lot of people are just going to pick Louisville, but you look at Clemson and Cade Klubnik, he's playing better. He's still not the caliber I thought he was going to be at, but this game is very interesting. I don't think this is just a shoe-in for Louisville. I think Clemson has a really good chance of not just, staying in this game, but winning the football game. I know people like to make fun of Clemson and dabble this year, but I mean, they still have the potential. Like their potential can show up one game. Like I think Clemson's they're not consistent. So I mean, they could have one game that's really low and one game that's really high. But can they put 2 good weeks together after that great win at Florida State after getting beat by Duke? That's the question that everyone wants to know with this game. So with that being said, I think I'm going to take Louisville. I think Louisville's still trying to play their way into the playoffs. I don't know. They're probably going to have to win the ACC. But I think Clemson's going to give them a heck of a game. I'm excited for this game on a Friday night. As you guys know on the channel, I'm staying away from Friday. I do not have a good record on Friday night football for college. I have a great overall record. It's I think it's 92-38 now. But Friday night probably has 15 of the 32 losses on the year. I kid you not. I cannot predict a Friday night game for whatever it is. I'm not sure what it is. So with that being said, I'm taking Louisville to win this game. So that's our first game prediction. Now we're going to get into a game that I kind of previewed. Notre Dame is going to be playing Pittsburgh. Notre Dame is an 11.5-point favorite. Notre Dame is a team that if you are a coach or you are a coach of football or a coach of sports, they're the team that you really want to coach. They're a team that has improved every single week from week 1. I still don't think Notre Dame has played their best ball yet. And if you are a coach and you get that analogy, I mean, this Notre Dame team could be dangerous. I mean, if they played Miami and Texas A&M now, do they win those 2 games? I don't know. We won't know. Hopefully we get to see those games maybe in the playoffs. And then you got Pitt, and you can make the same argument as Pitt. They've gotten better. If you guys didn't know, Pitt has a loss to West Virginia, which is just puzzling, but then you see Pitt has a new quarterback, a freshman quarterback. I say is the second best freshman quarterback, only to Bear Buckner. But hey, this Pitt quarterback here, he could be number 1 if he beats Notre Dame, a high-level opponent. But we look at this game, can Pitt stop Notre Dame's running game? That's what this game is going to come down to. That is my question. And with that being said, when we're talking about this game, Jeremiah Love is playing himself back in the Heisman conversation. That was my preseason Heisman favorite. He's not doing what the first couple of games. And they also have Price back there as well, which is a good running back. The 11.5 of Pitt. Pitt, they've played better football the last second half. But, man, this was a tough game. I'm going to take Pitt to cover. I think Notre Dame wins the game, though. I think this game is going to be closer than 11.5 points. I think Notre Dame is slightly overrated in this matchup, not in the sense that they're going to lose. I think they're going to win. I just don't think people take Pitt seriously. I'm not sure why they do. I take Pitt seriously. They have a new quarterback, and they could play their way into the ACC championship and beat a top 10 seed by the ACC championship. They win the next 3 games. So Pitt has a gauntlet coming up. So I'll be very interesting. I think this game is definitely. I think this is a 1-score game. Whoever wins this, but it's going to come down to, can Pitt's D stop Notre Dame's run game, because Notre Dame's run game, no one's been able to stop it recently. That's the reason why they've been so successful. And CJ Carr is not turning it over at the clip that he used to, I would say, as well. So I'm going to have this game very much on my radar. I think Pitt covers, but Notre Dame wins. I think that's going to be a close game. Moving on. Oh, baby. This was a game we talked about in the preseason. This is a hinge game of the season. Number 11, Oklahoma versus number 4, Alabama. Alabama's a 6.5-point favorite. Oklahoma's going on the road. I talked about this game in July. This was the pivot game for Oklahoma. I picked Oklahoma to make the playoffs at the beginning of the year. They were my dark horse in the SEC. This was the game I said it was going to come down to. Let's look at both these programs, how they got here. Alabama just beat LSU last week. Oklahoma, I think, coming off a bye week after playing Tennessee 2 weeks ago and winning on the road. They are still on the road going to Alabama. And Oklahoma is a team I think is slightly overrated in the college football playoffs. I put BYU over Oklahoma right now for the sole fact that Oklahoma's best wins Tennessee. But if Oklahoma beats Alabama, then they need to move up a couple spots with their 2 losses that they have, which is Texas and Ole Miss at the current moment. Both teams are ranked ahead of them. This game's going to come down to, can Alabama run the football? I know that might sound silly, but I think it really might come down to, can Alabama run the football? I think Oklahoma has a great defense or a great run defense. It might come down to Alabama's pass game. They might be able to, win them the game that way. Another key thing with this game, John Mateer. Man, what kind of John Mateer are we going to get? He's about a month out of surgery, month and a half, since he got hand surgery, I believe. I think Red River was a month ago. But I'm very interested to see what John Mateer. I think that has a huge thing with it. He didn't have the most impressive stats last week, but he did enough to win the game against Tennessee. So I will be very interested to see what kind of John Mateer we get in this game. Can Oklahoma run the football? Oklahoma, they kind of ran it at a better clip recently. But before the Texas game, they were like 3.5 yards per carry. I think they need to be over 4.5 to play with this Alabama team. This is going to be a 1-score game. You guys know Kalen DeVore going back to Washington. They win close games. This is going to be close. I'm going to pick Alabama to win this game. Does this take Oklahoma out of the playoff picture? I don't think it does. I look at the way that the committee respected the Iowa loss. They moved them down 1 spot. I don't know. It depends on how they lose, but I'm very excited. Alabama's won a lot of 1-score games. If this is going to be a 1-score game, do they slip up this time? Maybe they get, those 50-50 plays. Maybe they get a pass interference on defense that's not supposed to be on those 50-50 plays. So I'm going to keep my eye on this game, as obviously I think it's a great game. But I think Alabama wins. But I wouldn't be surprised. If someone tells me Oklahoma wins this game, I wouldn't be surprised, because Oklahoma has the potential to win this game with their defense and what kind of John Mateer that we're going to get. Those are the 2 questions I have going into the game. And like I said, I'm going to take Alabama to win this game. I think it's going to be a close game, and it's going to be a good one. So with that being said, let's keep it moving on. I think we got 1, 2, 3, 4. What we got? 4 more game previews. So we're going to stay on track of time for your commute to work. Let's move on. All right, here we go. TCU is going to I think it's supposed to be wait a minute. Nope, I'm right. Number 12, BYU. BYU is a 4.5-point favorite. If you guys didn't know or didn't watch college football last week, BYU coming off it was a thumping in Lubbock last week for BYU. 7 points, 3 turnovers, special teams errors all over the place. But TCU and Iowa State, that game was very interesting. Iowa State got the better of TCU. So both programs are coming off losses. BYU's -4.5, which I find very interesting because this game is at BYU. BYU's really good at home. Their last home loss was actually last year against Kansas. I think this is a similar spot to what BYU was when they played Kansas last year off the top of my head. You look at TCU, they haven't had the season they wanted to. I saw a tweet from a TCU fan that said they would be more mad if TCU won this game than they would be if they lost it, because I think they're looking at TCU's potential. This was a TCU team with one of the best quarterbacks in the nation, in the nation, and Josh Hooper. I thought he was going to really, take off, but TCU's just lost too many games to be considered for the college football playoff at the current moment. And then you got BYU. What are we going to get from BYU? I don't know what we're going to get coming off a loss. Are they going to meld the season in? I don't think they will. I think Kalani Sitake is a great head coach. Parker Kingston's status is going to be interesting to me, that receiver. I'm going to keep my eye on that. Hopefully he's not on special teams. He had a horrible muff against Texas Tech. Really hard to fill balls if you guys were punt returners. But I'm taking BYU to win this game at home. I think they're going to bounce back. I think they know what's at stake. They have to win out to make the college football playoff. When I mean win out, they got to win out to the Big 12 championship, and they cannot look ahead to the Cincinnati game next week. They have to be focused on a TCU squad who's also coming off a loss. I think we're going to get both teams' best in this game. I really do, because of what they're coming off of. Kind of losses that really shown the flaws of the teams. I think they're going to really, if you guys have ever played a sport or coached, which you probably have if you're listening to the podcast, you normally get your best week of practice after a loss, like what both these teams have. So I'm going to keep that in mind. I think BYU wins, but I think this is going to be a great game in but that's going to be a great game at BYU, and we might be going to a BYU game in a couple weeks for the channel. You're going to have to stay tuned for what that looks like. It might be in the play. We might have to go check it out ourselves. We will let you know what that looks like in a couple weeks. So very interested to see what happens there. So I kind of hope BYU wins so they keep winning. So there might be a vlog to a BYU game with a media pass. So I don't know it's in the works. It's in the works. We'll see what happens. But man, if that happens, I can't wait to show you guys the content we can get from there. So with that being on, let's move on to our next game. We have Florida playing Ole Miss. There's a 15.5-point favorite. What is going on at Florida? Holy smokes. They fired their head coach. DJ Lagway got benched against Kentucky. If you would have told me that in August, I would have probably, if I was drinking water, I'd been like, I probably would have spit it out at you and told you were crazy. I can't believe we are at where we at with Florida. I can understand if Florida was bad, but DJ Lagway was good. That's kind of what I thought was going to happen, our worst case scenario for Florida. But they fired their head coach, and DJ Lagway's got benched. They got rolled by Kentucky. I repeat that, by Kentucky. Number 7 Ole Miss, they play Citadel. I mean, it was basically a bye week. I mean, they probably got their seniors in on special teams or whatever. But Ole Miss, man, they moved down a spot for Texas Tech. I agree with it. Ole Miss I don't know, that 15.5 might be too much. And the reason why I say this, there's always a game when Lane Kiffin coaches in every season that you look back and look, how in the world did they lose this game? Maybe this is a different Ole Miss team. I'm taking Ole Miss to win this game. I'm going to make that obvious. I am picking Ole Miss to win this game. I have my eye on this because there's always one game a year. I think Rebel fans would agree with me. Comment down below if you do agree with me. It feels like Ole Miss with Lane Kiffin, there's always one game that you look back at the end of the year and you wonder, how in the world did you lose this team? Actually, it was to Florida last year. Florida kicked them out of the playoffs last year. So I will be keeping my eye on this game. I think this game is going to be a fantastic game in the SEC. Maybe a little bit overlooked. We got 2 more games here for you. Number 13, Utah is an 8.5-point favorite going to Baylor. This is one of my most intriguing Big 12 matchups. I love the Big 12. In terms of, I think they put out a great product every week. I love the games. They're always, compelling. And I look at Utah, for example. Utah at 13, I thought got the benefit of maybe the eye test, as some would say. They're going to Baylor on the road. Very interested in what this game looks like, what it comes down to. Baylor, they are going to score a lot of points. That offense is dynamic. Utah, they put up a lot of points the last couple weeks. I'm trying to remember, they played Cincinnati and Colorado, and they put up about 50 points. I think Baylor's defense is better than those two. I think Utah wins this game, but I think Baylor covers. I think might be a trap game for Utah. Everyone's been telling how good Utah has been the last couple weeks. They're coming off a bye. All they have to do is win out to make the college football playoff. I agree with that. I think that's all they have to do. But, man, I mean, going to Baylor's no pushover. Baylor, they're going to score a lot of points. And Utah's defense is really good. Devin Davenport is going to be healthy. Very interested in that. I'm looking to see what the progression in the pass game looks like against this Baylor team. But Utah scored a lot of points the last couple weeks. I think Utah wins this. I don't know about the 8.5 though. I think it's going to be a lot closer than what people are saying about that game. So I will be paying very close attention to that game. That last game, we have to give some Mountain West love. Our last prediction. Like I said, there's a couple games we didn't get to. We'll get to them on Thursday. We have to save, so we have 3 shows a week. We got to save some games. So, Texas and Georgia will be for sure next week. Iowa, USC will be next week, on Thursday. We'll be talking about those games. Don't worry, there might be some panicins out there. We'll be talking about those games on Thursday. But we got San Diego State against Boise State. This might be a Mountain West title. San Diego State, they probably would have been in the college football rankings if they didn't get absolutely waylaid by Hawaii last week. I didn't even know they lost to Hawaii until about Sunday afternoon when I put my rankings out, and I had San Diego State like 22. I didn't even realize they got beat by Hawaii. When I've totally spaced that game. That normally doesn't happen, but I own up to my mistakes. I got to stay up and watch Hawaii football because they could definitely make a run at the Mountain West Championship. But what in the world happened to San Diego State? Everyone, they were talking about how good they were and this and that, and they got waylaid. And then you got Boise State with they're not going to have their Mason Matson's not going to be starting for them. They're going to have another quarterback for them. So the dynamics of this game is crazy. No one shows up to San Diego State football games. I think there's a lot of people in the Mountain West would agree with me. Like, no one shows up to San Diego State. It doesn't matter how good San Diego State fan. Like, they have terrible football fans. They just don't care. Like, I saw a graphic on Twitter that showed like 50 people in the stands for San Diego State. So I don't even know if is there a San Diego State football fan? I don't know. If you are, let me know in the chat. But Boise State, man, they're coming off a loss as well to Fresno State. They had a bye week last week. So, man, this game is going to be tough to predict. Jeez. I'm going to take Boise State to win this one on the road. I'm going to take the dog in this game. I'm going to take Boise State to win this on the road. That sounds crazy. I know they got a new quarterback, but, man, San Diego State lost a lot of trust with me with the way they played against Hawaii. I know it's hard to travel to Hawaii and play and all that. It's Hawaii vacation. I'm going to trust Boise State to go in there because it's going to be an away game for San Diego State. And you guys might be wondering, how is that? Boise State fans travel. If you guys didn't know, they travel. So I think Boise State is going to go on the road and win this game, even with the new quarterback. I think that they're going to put some pieces together and they're going to figure it out. I think Boise State is going to figure it out after a loss, and they had a bye week, so they're going to be recovering, all those good things. So with that being said, that's our full show. Thanks for everyone for the TD Sports Press. We'll be back live Thursday with more college football. With that being said, check out the TikTok. If you want to see some more content, we post a video day live every day on TikTok as well.